among us the values of your kingdom.
This House is now in session. Minutes of the meeting held on Friday, 25th of January, 2019 and Tuesday, 5th of February, 2019.
That the minutes of the meeting held on Friday, the 25th of January, 2019 and Tuesday, 5th of February, 2019 be confirmed.
Question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. If there are no observations or corrections, let those minutes stand confirmed. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 29th of January, 2019.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to move that the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 29th of January, 2019 be deferred.
Question is that the aforementioned minutes be deferred. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are deferred.
Announcements by Your Honor, the Speaker. Messages from Her Excellency the Governor General, petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills. Okay. Report from select committees.
Speaker, I rise to seek this Chamber's acquiescence in the requests of the Joint Select Committee on the matter of the Integrity and Public Life Bill. We have had, regrettably, some delays in the committee has completed its work. The transcripts are still awaiting being edited, and we do have one or two other minor administrative matters which have presented a bit of a challenge. I therefore want to pray this Chamber's agreement that the work of the committee could be extended until the last day of April 2019, sir. By that time, I expect that all of the drafting work and everything will be completed, and the committee will be able to present its report to Parliament and complete the debate on the bill.
Honourable Member, this is in relation to the Integrity and Public Life Bill.
Yes.
Right. The question is that the time for the report, the Select Committee, be extended. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. The aforementioned report is thereby is extended as requested.
Of bills. Jeffrey, they have got a constitutional amendment. No. Okay. Statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motion for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of standing orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42, 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sittings.
Question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are so suspended.
I beg to move the temporary appointment of the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central as Chairman of the Standing Finance Committee.
Second that, sir.
Question is that there be an appointment of a temporary Chairman of the Standing Finance Committee. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. It is so done.
Business. Yeah. Order number 5, in the name of the Honourable Acting Leader of the House, to move that the House resolve itself into Standing Finance Committee to consider the grant of sums of money for the service of this island.
Before we proceed, I will wish therefore to, as it relates to the order paper, if the order paper could reflect the change from Committee of Supply to the requisite committee as has been so amended. I would appreciate kindly if all the order papers can so reflect the amendment that were made to the standing orders.
Mr. Speaker, it shall be done. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Speaker's request Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you now lead the chair and that the House resolve itself into committee.
Standing finance.
Standing finance.
Standing finance.
Changes in the name.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that Your Honour do now leave the chair and that the House resolve itself into the Standing Finance Committee to consider the grant of sums of money for the service of this island.
Beg to second.
Question is that the Speaker don't leave the chair and the House resolve itself into Standing Finance Committee. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. Honourable member, Leader of the House, I've seen that the chairman of committees is now present in this honourable chamber. It would thereby be prudent to ask for a suspension of what you previously sought, so as to enable the chairman of committees then to so sit.
This chamber is now in committee, the Standing Finance Committee.
In the name of the Honourable Minister of the Environment and National Beautification, to move the passing of a resolution to grant the amount of $282,570 from the Consolidated Fund, and to place it at the disposal of the government to supplement the estimates 2018 to 2019 as shown in the supplementary estimates number 7, 2018-2019, which form the schedule to the resolution. Head 82, Ministry of the Environment and National Beautification, in the amount of $282,570.
To Michael East.
Thank you very much. I perhaps should try to justify the importance of the existence of this agency, but let me repeat this request for $282,570 to be allocated to the Ministry of the Environment and National Beautification, to one of its arms, the National Conservation Commission. This money is requested for the purpose of reimbursing the NCC for monies spent during the financial year 2018 to 2019. When the conceptualization of the estimate for NCC was initially constructed, there was no predictability, no prophecy, no foresight in relation to what would transpire in the form of this sargassum invading our shores, our sovereignty. For some, and I said invasion because some people perceive it as a menace on the horizon. Some persons believe that is a national asset, a resource which can be explored through scientific study and can contribute to the development, economic development of our society. When this sargassum arrived, the it came in on the northern shores of Barbados. And at a very rapid rate, the sargassum moved from the north to the eastern shores and journeyed right into the southeastern shores of Barbados. From the perspective of the sargassum being a menace. From the perspective of the sargassum being a menace. I thought you were saying that my attire is not fit for purpose.
Lovely, sir.
Because I know that we are talking about the seaweed. The NCC took a central role working in collaboration with other ministries of the government of Barbados and its agencies, along with members of NGO movements, to see if we can counter the forces of the invasion on the coastal area. On the first occasion, we went to the East Coast, and then we went down as well to, I think it was Bath initially. The Minister of the Blue Economy was also present because it is part of our mandate to deal with matters that are of an environmental nature. The Minister for the Blue Economy, Marine Matters, he has the responsibility for dealing with issues which are related to the ocean. I have the responsibility for terrestrial issues as it relates to the environment. And the integrated nature of our responsibility is not only the physical presence of the sargassum, but from our perception of the environment, we also deal with intangible issues which are social, issues which are cultural, matters that relate to health, and the whole gamut of governance as it relates to the environment itself. No man on earth so far has established a clear universal definition for what this, I don't want to call it abstract, but what this challenging term related to the Ministry of the Environment is, but we have actually put a few guidelines so that we would not venture into certain issues. Like this morning, while I'm here, I have to be studying what is happening at Blackman and Gollop School. I have to respond to that at some point, and the NCC would also be very much involved in that exercise. And I would like to say, Madam Chair, because I still think it is relevant, and I may probably have to use some of these funds as well into dealing with those problems at the Blackman and Gollop School, which are being they're being expressed loudly, sometimes not as just as they ought to be. But I could not go into. I visited the area on Sunday. I recognize the concerns of the president of the PTA, the community, and the school, but in the interest of the children, I could not send in any officers, any workers from the NCC to pick the, what is called, the couch during the 5-day period. But I want to give the residents and the general public of Barbados the assurance that workers would be in there over the weekend. And hopefully by Monday we'll be able to resolve some of the problems. But I am not going to spend the money. I'm not going to spend the government's money cleaning up the private property of wealthy men in this country. I'm not going to do that. So if the government is to spend any money on labor, any cleaning up of that estate, let it be mentioned to the owners of the estate that they will have to pay back every cent to the government if the government cleans up the property, and that will be done if the landowner don't take on his responsibility to do so. And if we do that work and the landowner do not compensate for doing that work, he will find himself in the civil courts of Barbados facing a civil charge. I am so sorry that I can't punish him by using the criminal provisions because it is uncaring to have children to the western side of the school up there and the breeze blowing the particles from the pods into the school, and it's happening annually at intervals. I visited that area before, just a few months ago, and I tried to, along with the Minister of Education, the Minister of Agriculture, we visited there, the Fire Service, NCC, and on the completion of the discussions and on the completion of touring this mega estate, the owner agreed that he will complete the clearing of the entire field. It was only brought to my attention that he was not doing what he committed himself to do after the fire. I don't know what is the cause of the fire, but I am assuming that if you create tensions in an area like that, and people have children, I am not even inferring anything, but people got children, I believe that it was wise for me to wait to hear if there was going to be any contention there after the fire. And that's why I went on Sunday, because as soon as the fire occurred, whether it's a house, a car, a cane field, or whatever, I would assume that the fire service would always visit and try to find out the cause. So therefore I had to give a little elbow room. I can understand the emotionalism of an individual or two on these issues, but I can't conduct business like that, because even if I'm to face public ridicule for any form of action, I am going to make sure that I do my best and use the most rational thoughts before I apply action. So let us leave that there for now. Perhaps the best way to understand not only the request for the funds, but the best way to understand the importance of this agency, the NCC. Because I don't want the public or any individual within earshot to believe that this is an institution that is secondary to any other institution of governance. If you understand the role of the NCC, and you understand the role of a number of parastatal bodies in this country, sanitation service, and if you are a wise student of history and not dates through history, social and political history, economic history, if you understand that well, you would understand the importance of the existence of the NCC. The NCC's birth came in a post-independence period, but it also it also, the thinkers and the framers of the time, which was not the Barbados Labour Party, but also other thinkers. I'm not excluding the Barbados Labour Party from the thoughts that existed at the time, but we had the parks and beaches that came shortly after our independence. And because these men were conscious of some of the social challenges and ills that existed in the society at this specific time. And if you, Madam Chair, if you were aware of, and I know that you are, if you're aware of pre-1950 history, you would have known the things that we see in the last few years are very much a reflection. I know people don't want to say that, but this is my view, very much a reflection of some of the things that we saw in the pre-1950s. This morning I saw the newspaper talking about rats. I don't think that any international financial institution in their discussions with government, I don't think that they consider rats. I don't think that they consider that we have people in Barbados that can't eat because they have no money. I don't think that they take into consideration that the more people descend into the corners of poverty, that there will be a number of negative reactions because their training, their classical colonial training in educational training that allows them to perpetuate and protect a system to eternity, that don't allow them to have that focus to understand that you have to take into consideration all of these issues. But NCC has to take those issues into consideration. Because if we don't remove the bush from the streets, if the sanitation don't remove the garbage from the streets, the end result is that you will have a massive increase of a rat population and all the diseases that will follow. Is it difficult to remember or to reflect on these historic experiences and to tell ourselves that we must do everything to make sure that that situation never reoccur in our system? Is it difficult for us to understand the rationale that probably would have applied in the 1970s when the thinkers of the time felt it was important to have a parks and beaches, and subsequently it evolved into the NCC as an important government agency? These are fundamental questions, and when we vote for $24 million annually to be put at the disposal, and we employ a number of not only administrative staff and staff with some academic ascendancy, but also unskilled individuals in an institution like that. Sometimes when you are making fundamental decisions about the development of a society, you have to take into consideration what are the best mechanisms that we can put in place to protect the most vulnerable in the society. But I am with contempt, and that word is really a polite description, with contempt, when thinkers, modern thinkers, who believe that they have the answer and the solutions to some of the challenges that the society faces. And nothing goes on the negotiation table about the amount of pain and the probability of a massive increase in the mortality rate, a major increase in inmates at the mental hospital as well as in the prisons of Barbados as a consequence of any austerity measures.
We have 2 minutes left.
For that kind of thinking. I am not one of those persons who believe that any human being with a social conscience will be prepared to advance a view like that, apply ownership to that view, and believe that they have done something noble for the general development of the people of Barbados. I am not of that school of thought. And if I stand alone on these issues, I stand alone, but that's my opinion. I believe, and I said it before here, I believe that I have seen, and I was happy, I must say, to hear the Honourable Minister of Labour yesterday on the areas indicating that if the economy of this country didn't stay up, I'm not quoting him, I'm trying to paraphrase and also to put it in the form of a synopsis, the gist of the entire discourse which he gave. But he made it very clear, and it's the first time that I've heard it for a long, long time, it's certainly here in the last decade or so, that if the Barbadian labor market cannot find employment for its people, then he's urging Barbadians to reach out into the external market and try to find job opportunities, because labor and labor-intensive programs has always been at the forefront of the general development of Barbados. Not capital-intensive programs so much, but there's a new trend of thought that believes that it is easy to make these sacrifices and it's easy to trim here, trim there, and trim in certain ministries, and when everybody else enjoying wine and champagne, these people can't eat food, can't pay their bills, who renting now got to go back home at the mother's house and everything. It is that group of people who I have great respect for at the NCC.
Remember, your time is up. Please wrap up, kindly.
The actual, what I also want to say is that the arrival of the sargassum has also positive aspects of it. So it's not only that sargassum is a menace, but sargassum also has positive aspects of it. And it puts us in a position where we can, I know that some young men and a number of small groups are making cream and some making edible things out of it. They're also making soap. But it is the micro of micro in terms of production. It is so small. It is to the level where it's infinitesimal and has no major impact on the society. But the University of Westies is also doing intensive research on the value of the sargassum seaweed. I want to say this to us, we have achieved a lot as a people. There was also And I want to go back because I don't like to see the sovereignty.
Remember, please don't go too far back. Your time is up.
I'm going to wrap up, but I always find it difficult because I was only at the preamble, and I'm trying to see where I can get back to you. But I just want to say that there's a great inspiration for all of us, especially those who are going to explore the utility value of the sargassum. There was a great black man by the name of George Washington Carver. He's a United States scientist. And there are many. There are Benjamin Bendikar, there are many others. But this one has a similarity because his scientific study was in how the byproducts that can come from the potato. And I'm so sorry, Madam Chair, that I could not tell you the amount of extracts that came from that potato, right? That I believe should serve as an inspiration to show what we can do to make a meaningful contribution to the general development of Barbados, even if we have to use the sargassum in that positive sense, rather than having to face just the challenges of the sargassum killing all the turtles, destroying the fish, threatening the major tourism belt in Barbados, and at least creating a number of problems for the people on the South Coast. And I just want to say this, it is a burden on the South Coast because the South Coast had to face the challenge with the sewage, and then the sargassum arrived and compound the burden on the South Coast. And it is both unfortunate, but these are issues sometimes that we cannot avoid, but they are also environmental issues. And Madam Chair, I don't want to go any further because I can't so much. I'm at the comma, I'm at the semicolon, and at the colon.
At the full stop now. Thank you. Honourable Member for Christchurch West.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I recognize that the member for St. Michael East was just in the preamble and didn't get into the meat of the matter, so I'm going to try to assist him a little bit to actually get into the meat of the matter with respect to this sargassum. First, Madam Chair, I want to say that I want to give great thanks and commend the people who work at the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance, because although the cleanup of the beach fell to the Ministry of the Environment and was pretty much brought to our attention by the Blue Economy, it was the people of the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance that have the equipment and did the actual work. And I want to commend them for that. The vast majority of the work was done by the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance using all of their mechanized equipment. And I want to thank the people of the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance for that, for their commitment to doing the job, getting the job done, not only on the beaches that are highly populated, but also on the beaches that we don't see, that we don't often visit. Because it is not easy to get, and let me explain, people don't understand what that sargassum was like. I went to the crane and I saw it was like 4 feet deep and max. You could walk on it, you could drive a car on it. It was that thick, it was that hard to remove. And I also want to commend the people of the Barbados Defence Force as well, who did a tremendous job cleaning out the beach, especially by the crane. And the reason I want to talk about that, because there are some areas where the sargassum came in that were inaccessible to mechanized equipment. The crane was one of them. It was very, very difficult. They had to bring in another crane to get equipment, a small piece of equipment, down onto the beach to be able to move the sargassum. So we talk about it as though it was, par for the course. They did it the year before and so on and so forth. But this time, more sargassum came in than ever before. The ministry official told me they never had to deal with that amount. And we have to prepare ourselves for it. And I think we have to go further and look to what we have to do to protect it before it gets to the beach. I saw there are certain hoteliers that are saying that they're going to put a boom on the outside or off coast so as to protect his area, and I understand that, and if that works, that is great, because that particular beach is difficult to access. So I recognize that more thought has to go into it. I saw people start to send us pictures of something that they were using in the French islands, where they actually collect it and with some sort of boat, mechanized boat with a conveyor belt, and collect the sargassum and put it onto a ship. We got to start looking at these things. If sargassum is going to be coming, no, it's here again. If sargassum is going to come in twice a year, we have to do two things. We have to look to see. Well, it's been twice so far for 2 seasons, basically, because it was right after we became the government. I believe it was May, June, and then now again it's back now again in January. So it's twice in a 12-month period that we're seeing sargassum. So we have to look at several things. We have to look at how to use it, how to dispose of what can't be used, how to collect it, and how to make it viable. Now, I am one of the view that it is a bounty, but we just need to find out how best to use it. I can tell you the bounty that I experienced, because I don't have much garden and so on, so I didn't have the opportunity to use it as fertilizer, as the Minister for the Blue Economy would talk about. But what I recognized is, and what the fishermen told me, is it brought in this wonderful fish called amberjacks. And we were able to make good use of these amberjacks in my house, Madam Chair. And I must tell you, it is very interesting, because amberjacks were not something that was native to our shores. But the fishermen were able to get these amberjacks, and they would tell me all the time that the sargassum brought the amberjacks with it. And the amberjacks, and if we could cultivate that and give an opportunity to get amberjacks in our shores, as well as our regular dolphin and flying and kingfish and so on, have another type of fish, which I found very easy to cook and very, very tasty. It is another benefit that we could get from the sargassum. So I want to go a little bit into the actual supplementary itself, because I noticed that they didn't have anything in there for diesel. And I was hoping that the Ministry of the Environment would have put something in that supplementary for diesel, so that the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance could be reimbursed for the $68,000 in diesel that we used to clear some of the sargassum. And I'm going to ask the Minister to see if he could find some way out of this $35,000 supplementary. If a little $60,000 could go to reimburse the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance for diesel. I ain't asking for all the parts. I'm not asking for a per hour rate for all the equipment, for the DC-9 and the cat and the backhoes and the bobcats and all that. And I'm not even asking for anything for the people that work in, but something for the diesel, because it put us in a situation that we now have to go and use up diesel that we would be using for our gully clearing. And let me tell you, gully clearing is very, very important. And when we have to take equipment off of what is important to protect the country from hurricanes and hurricane disasters, and by extension flooding, then we are looking to get reimbursed. We had to then go and look to rent equipment from a private supplier to continue our gully work while we were clearing the sargassum. So the people of Barbados have to understand that this is important work that the ministries do, because we came to the conclusion that if we took the bulk of the sargassum off on the east coast and the southeast coast, we would stop it or reduce the amount that would get around to the tourist areas, which is like the south coast, Pebbles Beach, and the west coast, and so on and so forth. And our thesis worked. Our thesis worked, because we took the bulk of the sargassum off before it got around to the southeast coast and the west coast. And I hope the Minister for the Blue Economy would bear me out on that. So we are looking at the problem. We are tackling the problem. I believe that it can be used as a biofuel. As far as I'm aware, tons and tons were taken by a private company and were used to make fertilizer. And this is something that we have to encourage, and we have to encourage other companies to get involved. I saw on the net, because I was looking up the other day, that somebody made a whole house out of the sargassum fiber. And it's that kind of material that you can use, and I think more investigations, more research, and we can put this particular material to a better use. So, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, I know that I'm making a short intervention, but very important, because this is important for our economy. This is important because we have to protect our environment. You know, when I was at the crane, I I remember they have an elevator that goes from the beach to the restaurant. And I remember seeing a tourist family there, and they were looking out at the beach, all forlorn, that they'd come all this way and they couldn't access the beach. And I looked at them and said, you might not be able to access this beach, but there are many other beaches that we have a little further down the road. And I encouraged them to try Brandon's and Pebbles and these sort of things. And they were very thankful. And I think at the end of the day, we have to understand that we have to be committed, and we have to be responsible, and we have to have forethought to make sure that we not only use this as a resource and as a bounty, but also protect our shores in the coming years. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Honourable Member. Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to give my unreserved support to the supplementary brought by the Member of Parliament for St. Michael East, and certainly the Minister's responsibility to ensuring that the work of the NCC is carried out. The House is asked today to support the supplementary of $282,570. And Madam Chair, I want to say that the issue of sargassum is a perennial one, an issue that has affected us now, as the Member of Parliament for Christchurch West alluded to, biannually. And we are saying that it is a problem because not only do we ask in our manifesto to give us the vote and wash us, as the Member of Parliament, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Member of Parliament for St. Michael North East said, but we also said that we will face problems and we will fix them. And I'm saying to you, Madam Chair, that this is a problem that we need to solve, because it is no secret that our beaches must be protected. Barbados is recognized as a tourist destination. We are known for having some of the best beaches in the world. And I'm saying that the effects of sargassum can only seek to deter our tourist potential. And I'm saying that I congratulate and I implored the Member of Parliament for St. Michael East to do everything in his power to control the nuisance that is affecting our sea. And I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, that the sargassum, other countries have found other ways to get rid of the sargassum. We know that heavy equipment brought on the beach can present problems as it relates to nesting of the turtle and the damage of the sand and the structures of our beach, which is indigenous to Barbados. I am saying that even the idea of conveyor belts in the ocean, that has worked successfully in other countries. But Madam Chair, the seaweed, sargassum seaweed, is not only unsightly, but it is noxious in smell. It is able to trap, and this is really the problem is, there are about 81 different species of fish that are attracted to the seaweed. And a lot of the small dolphins and things die in that seaweed. I am saying we don't only have to look at protecting our tourist product and ensuring that Barbadians are alike, because it's not only tourists that is affected. Barbadians love our beaches too. I am sure the people of Silver Hill and Gull Hill and Christchurch West Central in its entirety, they love to go on Browns Beach and Dover Beach. And thanks to my friend, the Member of Parliament for Christchurch East, they can now enjoy the beaches in this country. And I'm saying the hard work, the tireless work. But I'm saying to you, Madam Chair, that there is also an effect to our marine life, which is very important. The marine systems that are put in place. And Madam Chair, when you look at the fact that the hawksbill turtle is now on the verge of extinction, when you look at the fact that a lot of those turtles are caught in the seaweed on a yearly basis, we know the importance of getting this problem solved. The dead algae, which is called the sargassum, Madam Chair, because there are a lot of other plants that also align itself with the Sargasso as it moves from Mexico to the Caribbean. And I'm saying it destroys a lot of plant life as well. The reefs are affected. You heard the fishermen, they talk about the problems they are associated with their boats and the fact that their lines are always entangled in the seaweed. You hear about the motors in the boat being caught. Oftentimes it costs the fishermen a lot of money. So the problem is far-reaching, Madam Chair, and I'm saying that along with the problem of Sargasso seaweed, as the Member of Parliament of Christchurch West just said, there are benefits that can be derived. Sometimes we say what is a man's garbage is the next one's treasure. But there are a lot of benefits that can be derived if we fully utilize the Sargasso seaweed. And I'm saying that the member of St. Michael's South will speak to it at greater length. But when you talk about circular Barbados, because there's a known fact that we don't have gold, we don't have bauxite, we don't have all the other resources like the other country. But we have to utilize the sun, and the sea, that which we have in abundance. And we have to make sure that it redounds to the benefit of every single Barbadian. And the seaweed, the nuisance, the branch that seeks to ruin the seabearders and persons that are involved in marine life, let us see how best we can utilize it. If you are going to spend $282,000 to have it removed, let us get back $282,000 plus in ensuring that when we remove it, that we are able to move it into the circular economy and get all the benefits out of it. That's what I'm saying. Madam Chair, when you're in the cosmetic industry, and you see what these young people, and I get into the young people now, because it is the creative imagination of our young people that have to buttress this economy. They have to be able to put Barbados on the world map. And I am calling on the creative mind of our young people to use the seaweed to form businesses and to ensure that there is a viable source of income from the same seaweed that everybody is seeing as problematic. I am saying that there's a soap industry. I saw my colleague, the Minister for the Maritime and the Blue Economy, brought a package of spaghetti, seaweed spaghetti that's being made in China. I saw a couple of months earlier, he brought fertilizer made by a local company by young people who are inspired to make their own mark and become true craftsmen of their fate. And that is why I'm saying, Madam Chair, that there are benefits derived if we allow our people to be creative and to use what is already there. In terms of circular Barbados, we are talking smart Barbados now. And we have a lot of smart people in this country. I am saying, Madam Chair, that the seaweed, along with its cosmetic usage, Madam Chair, there is usage as far as making cloth is concerned. The Member of Parliament for Christchurch West thought about making houses. Our creative imagination and our creative gene must work to ensure that we get back full purchase from that which is seen as a nuisance. And I'm saying that this government of the day, we are appealing to Barbadians who have that creative imagination, that creative gene that understands the way forward in terms of circular Barbados, recycling industry, understanding how we can take that which persons see as garbage and utilize for its full potential. The noxious gas, which we call hydrogen sulfide, Madam Chair, can also be used in the petroleum industry. I am saying even that can be utilized and captured. You as a doctor, Madam Chair, can tell me about the benefits associated with the antioxidants that are found. And there's a lot of antioxidants derived from sargassum when it is properly procured. And I'm saying a lot of vitamins, Madam Chair, even anti-cancer products are found in sargassum and all over the world. And what I'm saying is that Barbados must now come shoulder to shoulder with every single country in this developing world. because we have the resources, and the resources we have is the creative mind of our people, and especially our young people. We had a discussion 2 weeks ago with the Argentine ambassador, and he was talking about fish offal and the fact that the fish silage must be used in a way that can redound to the benefits of Barbados. And Madam Chair, we were talking, and we had conversations, me, the Minister of the Blue Economy, and certainly the Minister of Agriculture. We had discussions about how we can utilize that which persons discard as waste, the waste of the fish. Whether it's in in the fertilizing capacity, whether it is to be a byproduct of in the feeding industry. And we are saying, Madam Chair, whether it could be used for this biomass purposes, because there's a lot of methane associated with fish offal. And I'm saying, Madam Chair, a lot of the fish that is caught in the sargassum, along with the sargassum, the algae itself, can be used in these type of industries. Because we must never see waste as waste. We must always look at the full purchase in every single thing in this country to maximize, because there are opportunities, and the opportunities are boundless once we put our young people to work. It is no secret, Madam Chair, that unemployment, especially amongst young people 15 to 30 years old, is unacceptable. And I'm saying that this provides an opportunity for our young people to be able to not only gain employment and properly paid employment, but also, Madam Chair, to be entrepreneurs. Because research, and the last research study we did in Barbados suggested that out of the 70% of school leavers that are unemployed, half of that number have a burning, unequivocal, unreserved, untamed, and uncut desire, and you could alliterate, Madam Chair, desire to be entrepreneurs. And I'm saying this seaweed that we see as a nuisance can provide that opportunity. Because I just sit down and discuss, in this house, this August chamber, a number of industries that we could champion to ensure that this seaweed becomes a productive industry. And I'm saying to you, Madam Chair, I congratulate the Minister, because this is something that should have been done a long time. We shouldn't be having this discussion now. He shouldn't be coming to this August chamber to ask for a supplementary. But as I say, we will face the problem, and we will fix the problem in Barbados. That is what the people elected us on May the 25th to do. They also elected us to be able to open avenues for our young people, and people who have the creative imagination and the vision to carry Barbados forward. We can't only depend on a government. We have a resilient people, and we are saying to Barbadians, the seaweed is out there. Look at ways and mechanisms that to fully utilize the benefits from it. That's all we are saying. And we are saying also to Mr. Speaker that along with the equipment that we utilize, because we have to recognize that the hawksbill turtles, and I today want to thank those persons that are in the turtle fight, the turtle industry, that is working hard to preserve the turtle life in Barbados. They are doing a tremendous job. When you talk about the hawksbill turtle and the fact that it is right now an endangered species, and what turtle bring to the coral system and the reef and the marine life, I am saying, Mr. Speaker, those persons...
Honourable Member,
Mr. Chair.
Minister by any stretch of the imagination.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm saying that these turtles, the preservation of these turtles is of utmost importance to the marine system and our hydrosphere. And I'm saying, Madam Chair, I'm saying that the Minister should be congratulated for ensuring that this supplementary comes here today. And Madam Chair, as I said, it would be a short intervention, because basically he has done what he was given the mandate to do, like every single one of us in here. There are 30 members of parliament, and I'm sure, Madam Chair, that each of them will work with every sinew of their being. So my colleague here, my August colleague from St. Philip, South said 29, but I said 30 because the member of parliament for St. Michael West is still one of us in this August chair who works assiduously on behalf of his people, and I want to congratulate him as well for the hard work he's doing. And I want to say in closing, Madam Chair, that we have to utilize in Barbados. We are talking circular economy. We are talking ecosystems. We are talking the blue economy, the green economy, the fact that the recycling industry must take off by leaps and bounds. We are talking about Barbados, smart Barbados, where we are using technology at every single opportunity that is presented to us. We are talking about development of Barbados, where we can become more self-sufficient, resilient, and independent as a people. We have to become, once again, true craftsmen of our fate. Madam Chair, I want to leave with you today, and this August chamber, the words of John F. Kennedy as it relates to the ocean and the fact that we need to protect the ocean and utilize all that is there to ensure it redounds to the benefit of our country. And it goes like this. The ocean belongs to us. The beaches in Barbados are not only for our tourists, they belong to us Barbadians as well. We need to protect that which is ours. And I'm saying, Madam Chair, we must be able to be married to the beach and the ocean in an unbreakable way. There must be an irreversible marriage. A lot of us in this chamber may not understand that, but the marriage must not be a divorce from what happens in land to what happens in the ocean, in the hydrosphere. And I'm saying, so when we return to the sea, Madam Chair, whether it's to sail or to watch, we are going back from which we came. And Madam Chair, we should therefore take great care of our oceans, like if it's a part of our being. And you as a doctor will understand what I say when I say take care of your being. And I'm saying to you, Madam Chair, in those short words, I support the supplementary and I'm obliged. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honourable Member for St. Philip West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too want to lend my support for this request for a supplementary. But before I go any further, I really do want to congratulate not only the minister, but all the other ministries that took part in that particular cleanup campaign, which is now the reason, if I understand it right, that the minister has come back to ask for this supplementary. When you think about the scope of the work that was undertaken, what he's asking for is really minuscule. It is almost like a drop in the very ocean that he sought to clean. And so I am very supportive of this, but I don't want us to lose sight, and the Honourable Minister who spoke before me started to touch on it. And it annoys me, and I really do have to say that it annoys me, that oftentimes when we speak of our beaches, whenever we speak of problems that we face where our oceans are concerned and the environment is concerned, even if sometimes it becomes the tackling of crime, we often refer to these things as having this humongous impact on the tourist industry. I want us, and I'm going to talk directly to my fellow colleagues and to persons listening, that we, the people who live on this island, these things concern us first. Our visitors are our guests, but we live here day in and day out. And so your first loyalty must be to yourself and to making sure that the sarcasm that stopped Barbadians from going to the beach to enjoy themselves for a swim or for exercise because of the pungent odor that was coming from it when it was left on the beaches for days and for weeks by the past administration. I want Barbadians not to forget that. I want Barbadians to understand that this new administration has done the thing that I live my life by. And that thing is to do something. Because the wrong thing to do in any situation is nothing. And the past administration did absolutely nothing. And that is why this minister and his other colleagues had to come to the rescue in the manner that they did with the small amount of money that they had allocated to do it in the first place. But they got the job done. They got the job done, and I want to compliment them again. But as we go forward, I believe, and from working with these wonderful people, they think ahead. They have brought the government a foresight and their thinking that probably was lacking for what we consider to be the last decade. And I know that they are in the process of even planning how we are going to deal with the problem of sargassum when it arises again. And so it is important that as we go forward, we also mention, and I think a couple of my colleagues have already, but I also want to reiterate, the ingenuity, and I speak now as the Minister for the Creative Economy, the ingenuity of our people who found very creative ways to take what some people saw as a problem and turn it into an opportunity for business. And I think this is the juncture where we who sit here and make the decisions would also in this process seek to make the decisions that are going to empower more of our people to take these problems, in inverted commas, and turn them into not only just flourishing businesses, but into things that our young people can also benefit from. Not just the ones with the bright ideas, but at the other end, the persons who would be out there helping to clean the beaches, to pack it onto trucks, to get it to the factories, to help do whatever is done. I remember that there were people who were doing cosmetics. There were people who were using it to fuel motor vehicles. I mean, of all the research and all the things that I saw on the internet, there was not one that spoke to people using sargassum for fuel. And we did it right here in Barbados, and no one is celebrating this. But these are the kind of things, these are the kind of stories that happen, and they go basically unnoticed. But in a world where everyone talks about innovation and all the other things that we take from the rest of the world, I think we've missed an opportunity to really celebrate the very best of Barbados on that occasion. And I do, as again, the Minister for the Creative Economy, I want to congratulate those persons who made it happen. From their own ingenuity, and they're born and bred Barbadians, I want us to celebrate them. And so this supplementary, only $282,570. But look and see the work that was done in a short space of time. And it is one of the things that I'm most proud of, is that in the very first time in my life, as a person who would be watching on and writing songs and criticizing governments and doing all the things that I would have done in a former life, this is the first time that I've ever seen so much interministerial work being done. The very first time. And I think that this is really setting a new standard as to how government should and can work. And so I really do, again, congratulate the ministers who were involved. But I'm hoping, and I direct this one to the minister who's asking for the supplementary. I am hoping that as you build out and you begin to tackle this problem head on again, because as we look around the world and the scientists and everybody is talking about climate change and how it affects all the things, and this may be part and parcel of that very problem itself, that we will begin to find a way. And I heard you speak about persons who have booms and other things that go out into the ocean to get to it before it gets here. But I am hoping that we can, again, through the various ministries, come together to find a way where if it needs to be a factory, whatever it is, somewhere, that once we gather up all of it, that again, across this island, that our young people, our innovators, will find a way to actually get it to do the things that they want to do with it long before it gets to our shores. And so I just briefly want to say that I'm very, very supportive of getting this small amount, again, for a huge job that was done. Not a huge job that is going to be done, but a huge job that was done. And the reason why he has to come for this supplementary. And with those very few remarks, ma'am, I'm obliged to.
Thank you so much. Honourable Member for St. Lucie.
Madam Chair, I rise to support this supplementary brought by the Honourable Member for St. Michael East, Minister of the Environment and National Beautification. Upon this government assuming office on May 25th, after the May 24th general election, we were immediately confronted with a number of major issues. And I'll name just two of them, namely the problem at the South Coast, the sewage project, and the sargassum seaweed, which threatened to envelop our beaches all across the island. And this government, as it has been demonstrating, even in the run-up to the general election, that we are a team. We are a team. And as we went to the South Coast Sewage Project in one of our first tours, there were a number of ministries which participated. And I want to pause before I get into the meat of my presentation, Madam Chair, to compliment highly the Honourable Member for Christchurch East and his team for the excellent work. We're not over yet, but for the excellent hard work that has been done in pulling the matter of the South Coast Sewage Project out of the news and so on, and making life better across, not just in the villages and districts, but across our beaches for everyone. Excellent work having been done there, and I commend the Honourable Member for Christchurch East. But we were confronted with this problem of sargassum seaweed. It was the worst, and it is not that you weren't getting sargassum. Sargassum was present for a couple of years. But this that we got last year in 2018 was the worst up to that point in time. And it boggles my mind why a government that would have been in office at the time did not seem to make any sort of plan or provision for such an eventuality. The sargassum seaweed came like a hurricane. Any responsible government, Madam Chair, would put aside some funds and a reasonable amount of funds in its estimates to deal with these unforeseen or these circumstances caused by Mother Nature. We cannot control Mother Nature, but we must always make the provision to mitigate, Madam Chair, the outcomes or to ease the pain that may result because of what Mother Nature can do. And no provision, as it is quite clear, was made, or very little was made to deal with the sargassum seaweed. And that is why the Honourable Member for St. Michael East has come here today to seek a supplementary of this amount to pay for some very hard work that was done to save our beaches, our coastlines, and so on in 2018. The beaches on the south coast were threatened, and I agree with the Honourable Member for St. Philip West, because I believe that whatever we do, and we appreciate our tourists, we appreciate our visitors, the visitors to our shores, and we certainly welcome them and ask them to continue coming, and we intend to make sure that they have a pleasurable stay in Barbados. But I agree with the Honourable Member for St. Philip West that we must do these things for ourselves as a people. And I will tell you this when I come a little later in my presentation, Madam Chair. Yes, we need the tourism dollars, and we must look after those, or have those things that would attract the tourists to our shores. But it is important that whatever we do as well, we bear in mind that we have a local group of people here who very much, and I admire on mornings when I used to work at another place, when I came down Spring Garden Highway, I saw some retirees and so on with tables, that kind of thing, tables and chairs. They just had a sea bath and sitting, having breakfast on our beaches, enjoying Barbados. I saw it on Spring Garden Highway, on Brandon's Beach. I saw it in Paynes Bay as well. I saw it at Mullins. Because people in their retired years like to come out and enjoy. We do those things that we could not have done when we had to get up and run to the job early on mornings, getting at a particular point in time. So for them, the beaches must always be presentable, and the beaches must always be clean. And we were faced with this problem, Madam Chair. And as I said, as a team, we got to work immediately. We were relatively new in our respective ministries. We came into office, and I will repeat this, we came into office, Madam Chair, and we at the Ministry of Transport Works and Maintenance came into office with hardly any equipment. Hardly any equipment. And don't forget the stolen Bobcat. I have to talk about that. Hardly any equipment. The Minister of National Beautification, the Honourable Member for St. Michael East, he didn't have any equipment at NCC either. But we had the Ministry of Transport Works and Maintenance, we had the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, and we had the Barbados Defence Force, all and other parties coming together to make it happen in terms of control of the sargassum seaweed. Excellent teamwork, Madam Chair. I heard the Honourable Member for St. Michael East refer to, he said in his opening statement that the sargassum seaweed, that vast amount of sargassum seaweed came from the north and went around the east and ended up threatened to come around the south in areas like Miami Beach and so on. I happen to represent the most, or the northernmost constituency in this island, that of St. Lucie. And I can attest to the fact, and I want to make an appeal to the Honourable Minister now. I can attest to the fact that the sargassum seaweed devastated that beach called River Bay. That picnic spot, and we talk about Barbadians, that many Barbadians have flocked to over the years. To the point, Honourable Minister, that the facility is now closed. The facility is now closed. Madam Chair, before I became, the people of St. Lucie put in me their confidence and elected me to become the Member of Parliament and representative, as a candidate for 2 to 3 straight years, I received complaints, WhatsApp messages, photos of the build-up at River Bay, and I also took part in a clean-up. And I heard the Honourable Member for Christchurch West said that I remember when we went to Bath Beach in St. John, the sargassum seaweed was about 4 feet high. And that is what happened at River Bay. But there's another problem at River Bay, in that there is a canal to the left. When there is high tide, the seawater runs into that area. It's between 2 cliffs. And some seaweed on every occasion has been trapped in that area. And it has let off repeatedly a foul odor, a stench that has the people in River Bay, in Hope Road, in Northumberland, on the Hope Bridge, as far down as Connelltown, in bare problems. And it has only been remedied if you get a lot of rainfall, and what the people normally say, we used to say, and the gully come out, that it washes it back into the main floor of the beach. So the facility at River Bay and the people of St. Lucie, and indeed persons who would have come for picnics time upon time, are still experiencing the devastation caused by sargassum seaweed, the influx of sargassum seaweed last year. Nobody don't come to picnics now because the facility closed. I want to take the opportunity to commend a number of community groups who, as recently as Sunday, just gone, mounted a cleanup of that beach, even though it appears that it has been abandoned, but we have uses for River Bay. And I want to appeal to the minister to help us to get it back on track. We want to have some economic activity coming to St. Lucie through that beach. We cannot build a facility and have it closed forever. Somebody, a couple people, 3 or 4 people from St. Lucie, and probably one from St. Peter or St. Philip West that drives, could get a job there. So River Bay is in need of a lot of attention. And I know the Honourable Minister is a man of action. He's taken some copious notes. And I know he will seek, and I'm willing to have discussion, even tour with him too, to deal with this situation at River Bay. I have no difficulty, Madam Chair, in supporting fully this resolution with this supplementary. It has been money that is well spent, and we have some more work to do in the ministry as we seek to beautify Barbados in all areas across Barbados. And the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance, which has a hand in almost every sphere of development and work in this country. We stand ready. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West, my minister, and I stand ready to work with every ministry to ensure that what needs to be done in Barbados is done, and we can feel proud about Barbados again as proud Barbadians. A few months ago, we had a situation where we looked around, and our member for St. Philip North, you complain and you share some information too. You all remember for St. Michael West. The bush and everything enveloping our streets. The holy sargassum seaweed threatened our beaches. I am happy to report to this Parliament today that we have been able to put a dent on that. I see you're looking very quizzical, Madam Chair, but if you have other issues, let us know. We're not out, we haven't done all. Not out the woods yet. We ain't out of the woods yet. Just that we're not out of the woods where the sargassum seaweed is concerned, because we have no control over that. But we will do our best, and we will continue to do our best each and every day as we go to work. You know what I admire about my colleagues? Everybody says, man, we need a little West here. But you know nobody in West End. We're all working hard, led by our leader, the Honourable Member for St. Prime Minister, Member for St. Michael Northeast.
Honourable Member, you have 2 minutes.
And we intend to stay the course already. We intend to stay the course. Because more than ever, we have to make Barbadians proud to be Barbadians, proud to be Bajans again. We have to do that, and that is what we intend to do as a government. We will have the naysayers. I understand as I speak now, the former member for Christchurch West Central is on brass tacks trying to justify and make comments or trying to resurrect the other people who lost. But we must, as a people, by our work and the example that we set, we must by our work not allow them to raise their head again in political life in this country, because what they did to Barbados, Honourable Member for St. Philip West, was unfair. And we have had to work extremely hard, and we are proud to have worked extremely hard, and we know that we will see the benefits of our labor in due course. So I say to my colleagues from the good book, the Bible, do not be weary in well-doing, for in due course we will reap our reward if we faint not. And we will not faint. I support this resolution, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Member for St. Christchurch.
I'll give way, Madam Chair.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much.
I want to speak on this supplementary this morning because, of course, in dealing with the sargassum seaweed, it speaks essentially to what we're doing. I want to thank the Honourable Minister of Environment for bringing the supplementary. And I must say at the onset, Madam Chair, that our two ministries work very, very closely together, as well as the ministry responsible for public works and the Barbados Defense Force. In fact, Madam Chair, we set up a committee from the moment we came into government. We came in June, and we found, well, we came in May, but we started really in June, and we found, Madam Chair, a situation that was almost unmanageable in a way that reflected the lack of attention that was paid to what we considered a crisis by the former administration. And so we set about a task very early to pull together a committee to look to resolve the issue. And that committee was chaired and led by the Barbados Defense Force, and indeed the head of the Barbados Defense Force chaired the committee. And we set about, Madam Chair, in that month of June, and most people would recall that during the month of June, a significant share of the time that we spent in the Ministry of Maritime Affairs on defining the ministry and setting out its tasks and its roles, a significant share of that time was actually spent on the sargassum seaweed because it was in such quantity at the time. And as I said, there was really no blueprint, no guiding post, nothing for us to follow. It was almost as if we came in June and that sargassum had come for the first time to Barbados because we didn't find a hardcore plan, which is not to say that the other persons and other ministries weren't doing anything. NCC had been dealing with it for a long time. The soldiers had also been trying, but in terms of pulling together a strategic response, Madam Chair, I believe last June was the first time we were able to do so. And I think it was important, Madam Chair, to put this conversation in context. And the Honourable Member for Christchurch West, Adrian. Christchurch West Central, sorry, Madam Chair. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central spoke to the circular economy, and I speak to it all the time because we have to understand that things are as they are. And I could, every morning, I could get up and wish that we did not have sargassum seaweed, but the truth is it's here. And we either have to find a way, well, we have to find a way to both address it in terms of taking it off the beach, but also to use it because it is here. And that has to be the balance that we bring to the process. And Madam Chair, the truth is, you would have heard everyone speaking about the way the seaweed smells. Now, the sargassum seaweed, when it is fresh and in its golden state in the water, it doesn't smell. It is when the sargassum is on the beach and has been there for a few days and it becomes what they call anaerobic, when it starts to die, that you get the strong stench coming from the sargassum seaweed. So we have very few days between the time the sargassum comes on the coast, on the shoreline, and the time to remove it. And there was some discussion as to what is the best way to remove the sargassum from the shores. Some persons, the Honourable Member for Christchurch West, spoke about the boom. And a boom basically is a system where you put in place a barrier to prevent the sargassum from coming on to your shores. The thing about booming Warm Beach is that if it is successful, and I must say to you, Madam Chair, that most booms across the world have failed. And in fact, the one boom that was tried in Barbados failed. And that there is now a new effort, and I really do hope that it works, because we would like to find something that works, but that most booms have failed. But even if you were to be able to successfully boom Warm Beach, you only achieve moving the sargassum from that beach to another beach. So if you're talking about really being successful in booming a beach, you're talking about booming a number of beaches. And if you want to keep it off of Barbados altogether, then you would have to boom all of Barbados, basically. And such would be an astronomical cost, and anyone doing a cost-benefit analysis would tell you that it would not make sense for us in this state. But it is something that we've been looking at, the cost of doing a boom and the benefits to be achieved from it. Madam Chair, we also spent some time trying to figure out where the sargassum was coming from. Because as children, most of us, even though we might have seen seaweed here and there, we've never seen it to this extent. And the reason that I pursued the origin of the sargassum seaweed wasn't because I was interested in some romantic notion as to where these things come from. I feel that if climate change is responsible for it, if it is the neglect of larger countries that have led to the increase in sargassum, because they've led to an increase in the temperature of the water, which apparently allows the sargassum to grow faster. If it is rooted in a climate change issue, which then means it's really the fault of developed countries,
and that developing countries like Barbados and other countries in the Caribbean now have to bear the price for it, that somebody should be helping us deal with it, because people have to clean up their own mess. And that is my interest in trying to determine where the sargassum seaweed really comes from. Now, Madam Chair, last year, when we inherited the government, we took an approach that we had to deal with this. And as I said to you, we could either, Madam Chair, take it in the water or take it on the beach front. And I must say the staff at the NCC and the staff at Public Works and the soldiers were tremendously helpful, working almost 24-hour days in order to bring some resolution to this matter. But here is the stark reality and the harsh truth. I will give you an example, Madam Chair. We went to Concept Bay, and the Ministry of Agriculture, and I must thank the Honourable Member for St. Philip South, the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, because he allowed us to use his sugarcane equipment to move seaweed. And we were able to just, through some basic retrofitting, use the cane loader to move seaweed off the beaches and to use the same trucks that the Honourable Member for Christchurch West spoke about. And that allowed us to move tons of seaweed off of Concept Bay. Tons. And in fact, I've now seen it replicated or reproduced in documentations and paraphernalia from the UN agencies as a novel way to use equipment in a small island developing state to address a global problem. Our limited resources were used in such an effective way that it is now a model in UN documentation. But here is the point. Madam Chair, we went to Concept Bay. We spent the entire day. We moved tons of seaweed off of Concept Bay. And I went with you, Madam Chair, to Skeets Bay, so I know you know the problem very well. But we moved enough seaweed off of Concept Bay to make the beach, and we did a video where the beach went from looking like nothing you could swim in, you couldn't navigate it, no one could bring a boat through it, and we cleared it in one day. But the very next morning, you would have had no idea that we visited the beach. You would have had no idea that we moved the seaweed. You would have had no idea that anybody cared about what we were doing about this seaweed issue, because so much came during the night. And it stacked up on the near shore, it stacked up on the beach after all of our efforts. So here is my bigger point. There is no way we are going to be able to address this sargassum seaweed problem unless we are willing to put the resources to it. And that what the Minister of Environment brought today was to give us the capacity to put the resources to it so that we could begin to address the issue. And the fact is that all of us who are right-thinking Barbadians would have to agree, and I know the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is a right-thinking Barbadian, all of us would have to agree that we have to dedicate the appropriate resources to addressing this problem. And I feel, Madam Chair, that but it should not only be the government. We made a call last year for people to just come out and take some of the seaweed. And the amount of people who came out to take seaweed home and to try and different things or to help us move was phenomenal, because most Barbadians understand that it is a problem for all of us. We were able to get NGOs mobilized, and some mobilized themselves and their own resources, and even this weekend there were some in the north trying to move the seaweed, because they too recognize that it is a problem for all of us. I feel, Madam Chair, that the hoteliers who've also, some of them have been investing in bringing on people to move the seaweed, that I would like to work closer with them, and with the Ministry of Environment, of course, to get further resources to be able to move this seaweed off the beach, because it is a bigger problem for the hotels in many cases than it is for average Barbadians who live inland. But if they want the benefit of us trying to move the seaweed, then I believe that they also have to come to the table and put a little bit more resources into it as well, so that all of us as Barbadians can work together to remove this seaweed off the coast. And I should say to you, Madam Chair, that we were not just twiddling our thumbs over the last year. The reality is that we came in the height of the sargassum season, and people are saying it's been here twice a year. I wish to say, Madam Chair, it never left. We never got a point in Barbados where there was no sargassum coming. It had just been periods where it is more or less significant quantities or not so significant quantities, but that we've seen sargassum every single month since we came into office. And that there have been people working. There's a young man in Christchurch South, or is he Christchurch East, who goes to Miami Beach almost daily and works assiduously himself and one other person to remove the sargassum and has never asked for a cent. Never. Because he understands that for all of us, it is a challenge. But it has not been a case where we've said, this is the first half of the year it's going to come, and then you can't think about it that way now. And this year is the most that we've seen ever in January and February, which either tells us there's going to be a whole lot more sargassum coming this year, or that we are perhaps going to have to come back here, the minister responsible for the environment or myself, and ask for more resources, because we have prepared ourselves for what we understood to be the sargassum problem, but this thing is so dynamic that I believe we may have to come back again, depending on how much comes, and ask for more resources. It is possible. And the truth is, you cannot predict how much sargassum seaweed is going to come to Barbados. No one who is involved in the business, either at the NCC or Transport and Works, were able to say to us last year, in January and February, you will have more sargassum than you had, even with all the modeling that is now done. I'm just saying we are going to have to be, as a government, responsive and responsible. And that they're going to be, we have been as proactive as we can be. We've made a committee, Madam Chair, and in that committee, we have done what we now call priority beaches. And we've prioritized in terms of the amount of sargassum, and this is a truly committee made up of Environment, Public Works, the Defense Force, and the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, and many NGO players. And it depends on the amount that normally comes to the beach, the use of the beach if it is a tourist, if the beach is in the tourist belt, the fact how fast it becomes anaerobic or smelly on a particular beach. So that we've done these priorities so that with our limited resources, we know we have to be able to respond. In the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, and these are just some of the things we've done. In the Ministry of Maritime Affairs, we've had meetings now with the NCC. And as a matter of course, we've determined that the NCC would assist the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and vice versa, we assist the NCC. So you will see people from my ministry using the rakes and the boots and the equipment that is owned by NCC. Because this idea that we could deal with sargassum in silos is a nonsense. It is a problem for all Barbadians, and we have to address it as a unified bunch. So we have worked very, very closely. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to report that the Ministry of Maritime Affairs have also taken the decision to acquire a conveyor belt that I heard the Honourable Member responsible for you speaking to, that would allow us to move the sargassum straight from the beach onto a truck and vice versa, or off the truck onto something else, because the reality is that the amount of manual labor that it takes to move sargassum is amazing. It is really a lot of hard work. And that we've also made the decision, after reviewing a number of models, to acquire a boat that would allow us to move the sargassum off the near coast. Because we've said to ourselves that we have to have a response in Barbados that allows us to deal with the problem. But I'm saying to you, Madam Chair, that even with that response, and even if our conveyor works well, and even if the boat works well, and even if we brought the amount of people that we intend to bring to the beach to clear the sargassum, with all of that, Madam Chair, there is still the possibility that we still do not have enough resources. And this is what then leads me to my final point. We have to see the sargassum seaweed, Madam Chair, as both a problem, because it is for many people, but it is also a resource. And that if we are to think about completing the circular economy, we therefore have to think of ways, innovative ways, to be able to properly use the sargassum seaweed. And it requires that we therefore have to invest in Barbadians and Barbadian thinking and Barbadian innovation to be able to properly utilize the sargassum seaweed. And that is why I was very pleased, Madam Chair, to see that there are young people who are now making soaps from the seaweed. There are young people and other people in Barbados who have taken to making methane gas that they have then used to either fuel their car or fuel houses from the sargassum seaweed. There are people, Madam Chair, the Honourable Member also spoke to it, who are now using it and trying to experiment in ways to produce a food, but many people are producing fertilizer. In fact, I will be speaking to people who own horses and so on, because I believe if we are able to then use some of the waste from the animals, we could also add that to the seaweed and make better fertilizers. Barbados has to think of new ways to do these things. We don't have the resources. And I have heard, Madam Chair, that there are some people now who are thinking of bringing their factories to Barbados to be able to use the seaweed to make larger things. I would like to see larger things being done, but I would like to see Barbadians doing it. I really would. I'm not going to prevent anybody from coming. That's not the intention of the government, but we have to invest in our local peoples so that they are the persons coming up with innovative responses to their own challenges. So I would love to see, and the person who spoke to me said that no, Barbados is back on track. So you have to understand how this works, because all of this is tied in. The person said, the foreign company, Barbados is now back on track, and he's willing now to invest in Barbados, because he was not prepared to invest in Barbados before. And so that we could talk about the sargassum seaweed, but we have to talk about this whole thing in totality. And this is where we are, Madam Chair, as a government. We've decided that the sargassum seaweed must be seen as a resource, but even if you add all that I just said, the methane gas, the soaps, fertilizer, those who are trying to use it as a food supply, all of that, when we add up the amount of seaweed that is being used, it is still less than 1% of the seaweed that came to our shore.
2 more minutes, Honourable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All of that I've just said is less than 1% of the actual amount of seaweed that came to the shore. We are talking about a lot of seaweed. So that if we want to have a response that is able to deal with all the seaweed, we have to have a bigger response. I am calling now on Barbadians, again as they did for us last year, to come and take some of the sargassum off of the beaches and use it in their gardens. Some people have argued that the salinity or the salt level in the sargassum is too high. I must tell you that I used it in my own garden and it worked very well. But that there are some people, local people, who are making seaweed if you don't trust it in its natural form. There are people in Barbados who are making organic seaweed, and I'm asking Barbadians to support those people so that they can then make more seaweed and again help us get the problem off the shore. Because this becomes an issue for all of us, Madam Chair. And I am pleased to have had the opportunity to work in a government that has worked as a cohesive unit in addressing this sargassum issue. Madam Chair, I am tempted to say that the issue of diesel will not be an issue for us in the near future, because I would like to think, based on our concept of circular thinking, we would have renewable energy fuel in our vehicles anyhow, because that is the direction the government is going. And that all of us have to do our part to make sure that we can address this issue. But if anybody could find a country anywhere in the world that is faced with the sargassum problem that has been able to respond so effectively that it takes all of the sargassum and utilizes it for some end other than to dump it, because many people are just dumping it, then I would love to know where that country is. We are all struggling with it, Madam Chair. I believe that if we put our collective brains and our collective resources together, we will be able to deploy our resources in such a way as to maximize the returns from the sargassum being on our shores. But I wish, Madam Chair, as I close, to support the Honourable Minister of Environment. I want to thank him because we have worked very closely on this matter. I must ask Barbadians again for their patience, and I want to thank them too, because I do know when the sargassum becomes anaerobic and it starts to smell, it is a serious problem, and that we are working as fast as we can to be able to move it off the beaches so that it doesn't get to that state. But I want Barbadians to bear with us and to know that we have taken a very proactive role in trying to address this very profound problem. I thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Member for Christchurch East.
Madam Chair, I wish to support the resolution before this Honourable Chamber. And I want to echo a lot of what was just said by the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South. The reality, Madam Chair, sargassum is here to stay. It is here to stay. We can't look upon it as a novel problem. We can't look upon it as something that we need to spin. We can't look upon it as how are we going to placate the tourists for the time that it is here. The reality is that we as a government and we as a people need to make long-term plans as to how are we going to deal with this. This is going to become a feature of our calendar year in the exact same way as the rainy season, the hurricane season, the mosquito season, the fly season. We are now going to have the sargassum season or seasons. So I wish to echo and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Minister for the Blue Economy, because we now need to be pushing Barbadians. I don't see it as being a bad thing. I don't see it as being a good thing. It is there. When we were children, Madam Chair, well, I don't think we were children at the same time, but when I was a child, Madam Chair, like a couple weeks in a year, you get seaweed at the beaches. You get seaweed down with Pebbles, you get seaweed down with Miami Beach, and it was thick. But it didn't last for more than 2 or 3 days, and then it went along. And we dealt with that. This is not that. So we now need to be incentivizing people and encouraging our people to find creative ways of dealing with this. It is not simply how do we get it back off the beach. It is what do we do with it when it is there. How do we maximize the potential for something that right now is a nuisance? How do we encourage people to harvest it? How do we make it less of a problem for government and more of an opportunity for entrepreneurs inland? And we can't be thinking small scale, because, for example, Madam Chair, if sargassum makes good soap or good fertilizer, then we need to not be doing it as a cottage industry. We need to be doing it as a major industry. We can't be looking to pull little bits of it to make a couple bars of soap. We need to be looking to pull all of it to make soap and then export it. We have to accept it is not going anywhere. It will plague us a couple times a year, probably into the indefinite future. And we need to find a way to deal with it. The other thing I wish to do, Madam Chair, and the principal reason that I rose, the member for St. Michael South did allude to it, but having gotten permission, I will call the gentleman's name. There is a man called Arthur Cullimore. Arthur Cullimore is from the Silver Sands area in Christchurch. He is one of the hardest working people I have ever met in my life. Somebody that takes a task and does it without supervision, uses his initiative, he takes on causes, and the bulk of the time, Madam Chair, he does it as a Barbadian inspired by Barbadian ideals to do something for his country, and does it without pay. Now, it is all well and good for us to compliment people like that and recognize them in abstract. But, Madam Chair, compliments don't go to the supermarket. You can't take a compliment to the gas station. You can't buy a bottle of gas with a compliment. Quite often, we look around and we try to help people. And, Madam Chair, sometimes we try to help people who don't want to help themselves. But then we also have those examples, and we all know about them. Because when Minister Humphrey was thinking of dealing with the sargassum through his ministry, he already knew about this person because people told him about this person. So we now need to be looking at a government, as a government, to making best use of the resources that are in front of our face. There are those Barbadians who go over and above the call. And when we know of them, it is our duty to ensure that we work them into our solution and in some way allow them to benefit for what they used to do for free. I think it is almost an insult for us to keep complimenting the man for the work that he does for free, the necessary work that he does for free as a Barbadian, without trying to monetize that in some way for him. Not to throw him a bone, but because we recognize the initiative and we want hard-working people to work for us. He is an example of what hard work really is all about, Madam Chair. Just to put it in perspective, this man by himself used to clear the whole of Silver Sands Beach and then go down to Miami Beach. He would chop up the seaweed and drag it off the beach back into the water for it to wash out. That is what, himself in the water, in the waves, with a cutlass chopping at the seaweed. And I asked him, why do you do this? He said, because this is my beach. It distresses me when I come here and see all this seaweed. So I try to clean it. I would like us to recognize and salute Barbadians who go over and above, not with any thought of personal gain, but who do it for their country, because that is the Barbadian way. But equally, when we can help them, I believe that we should help them. Madam Chair, I want to strongly support the resolution because I don't envy my brother, the Minister of the Environment. I don't envy him at all, because the seaweed is a problem for the Minister of the Blue Economy while it's out there on the sea. It then becomes a problem for the Minister of the Environment when it lands on shore. And while it's on the sea, it smells good. While it's on the shore, it smells like you cannot possibly imagine. It is decaying seaweed. It is all the dead fish that are in the seaweed that are decaying on the shore. And he could not have expected this before. The supplementary is coming quite late. We're about to do the estimates. But the reality is he's dealing with it right now. And he has to deal with what nature has thrown at him. And we couldn't plan for it because none of us are God. And the best plans we make to deal with sargassum for the rest of this year, we may end up coming back and having to implement new plans, new programs, hire more people, because we have to deal with what nature throws at us. So it is a late supplementary, but it is a necessary supplementary. And I commend both the Minister of the Environment and the Minister of the Blue Economy, who are trying their best to rid us of this scourge, or to try to make the best use of what nature has dumped at our doorstep. I looked at the amount and I wish to applaud him for his miserliness, because I am sure, Madam Chair, that he really wants a lot more than $282,000, but that is what he asked for. So I'll be happy to support that, and when he comes back again, Madam, as he invariably will, because it is a major problem, then I'll support him again too, because this, in my mind, is money well spent. I wish to support fully the resolution.
Honourable Member for the City.
Madam Chair, I beg that you do report to His Honour the Speaker the intention to have this Honourable House suspended.
Question is that I report to the Honourable Speaker the intention to have the Honourable House suspended. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Aye. All honourable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
The chairman of committees has reported progress and asked me to sit again. Asked leave to sit again. Honourable for the City of Bridgetown.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of the Honourable House for lunch until 2 p.m.
Question that this honourable chairman will be suspended until 2 p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber is suspended until 2 p.m.